A mere 4 months later, this album was released in the UK and later, early in 1971, in the United States. The album did well in England on the strength of its single, Paranoid, and even though in the United States the album virtually received no airplay whatsoever, no love shown from the radio stations for Black Sabbath at this point, the album still managed to achieve the number 12 position in the Billboard Hot 100 album list on word of mouth alone. Now, one thing that you can say about Black Sabbath is that they truly have a unified sound. Now, it's not that they wouldn't do their experimental pieces on each album, and those were some of the most charming parts of what they would have to offer with each and every new release. But you know, I think it's the way they went about writing their material. All 4 members of the band being part of that writing process. You know, it's interesting. It would be Iommi who would come up with the riffs, right? He was the riff master. And then Ozzy would come in and set a melody around those set of riffs, with Geezer Butler, their bass player, providing most of the lyrics for Black Sabbath. Now, as a songwriter, I can tell you, this is a very unusual approach to writing songs, and certainly an unusual approach to consistently do from album to album. I was used to Lennon and McCartney teaming up, either helping each other quite a bit with each other's songs or actually writing them together. Or, like in the case of Led Zeppelin, I was used to Jimmy Page coming up with riffs and then Robert Plant supplying melody and lyrics. But here we had a lead singer that supplied melody only, for the most part, and the bass player supplying the lyrics. That was a bit out of left field as far as a songwriting approach, and it intrigued me. And with this more or less unified approach from the band as a total unit, they truly did develop a sound that was unto themselves. Alright, so as I brought up before, the album's original title was actually War Pigs, and that makes sense by the album artwork, right? But you know, it was the record executives who thought they heard a possible single with the track Paranoid, and so they put a kibosh on this album being called War Pigs. And that pretty much shows you what kind of authority the band had at this point, because the album artwork was already done and it was too late to change it.